The United Nations top diplomat for Ivory Coast, Choi, says he is disappointed by the latest election delay that could postpone the West African country's presidential vote for an 8th time. Joining us with more on Choi's report to the UN Security Council is VOA's Margaret Besheer. Hi, Margaret.
Morning, Vincent.
Now, to put things in perspective, this is the 8th time, but actually in a period of about 10 years. What does Mr. Choi say is the reason for the seeming current postponement again of this election?
Well, it all comes down to the voter list. There are about 6 million eligible voters in Ivory Coast, and so they have this list, and Mr. Choi said they have to have the final list before the election can be held. So the holdup is that there are about 5.3 million people on the list that have been approved, or who are eligible, their eligibility has been approved, but then there are about 1 million people who there are still questions about it. Now, there's an appeals process that's supposed to take place for the people who are not on the list to possibly get on the list, and that has been pushed back, so it hasn't taken place. So basically, some people on the 5.3 million who are on the list may actually end up off the list, and some of the million who are off the list may end up on the list. So it's kind of a complicated process, and you can't have the election until you have the final voter list. That's the bottom line.
Right. Now, given that this is a complicated kind of list, did Mr. Choi say they gave any indication of the time this list might be completed and therefore a possible date for the next election?
You know, I actually tried to press him about that after the consultations yesterday, and it's really not his decision, is what he says. It's the Ivorian authorities, the Independent Electoral Commission, that's in charge of this election. It's not the United Nations. The United Nations is only providing technical support. So he's waiting for a new timeline from the Ivorians on this. I asked him, once there's a final list, is it a month after you could have an election? Is it 2 months, a year, or how long? And he really couldn't speculate. He said it's up to the Ivorians to put forward a new timeline.
Yeah, and now quickly, Margaret, you see the UN Commission, or rather UN mission in Ivory Coast is helping the Ivorians to prepare these elections. How do these postponements affect the mandate of the UN's mission there?
Well, I think the Security Council is getting a little impatient. I was with them 2 years ago in Abidjan, and at that time they were pressing for the elections to be held, and still 2 years later they haven't been held. And so I think the Security Council's patience is not unlimited, and they've only renewed the mandate until May 31st for the mission there. And they say they don't want to renew it with a longer time, 6 months or more, until there's an election date in sight. They just don't want to continue like this. So it could affect the mission's future.
All right, thank you very much. Let's keep watching this soap opera in Ivory Coast. Thank you very much, Margaret Besheer. Margaret Besheer, VOA UN correspondent, talking to us from New York.